Dualism is the cancer of our times, and the cure is PaRaDiSe. No more need to live hell on earth. Now we have the choice of PaRaDiSe promised world. Now there's a cure of dualism. It's simply PaRaDiSe world, the principle of re-civilization. Only PaRaDiSe is effective against dualism, against the living inferno on earth. Even if the Savior is to come, we still need to do our part in bringing him, it, or her. The cure against dualism was finally found. Hope is realized in PaRaDiSe. The trick was how to break free from modern dualism without falling back on archaic monism. I promise later on a separate video explaining the isms of monism, dualism, pluralism, and holism. This disservice to humanity cannot be due to anything other than to oversight. There's individual insight and there's collective oversight. It all goes back from pre-K to post-PhD with what is the whole made up of? Whole is made of parts. Wrong. The whole is made of triad parts. From here, whole is ellipse and triad parts is right triangle, the latter inside the former, as in our PaRaDiSe model. Please see accompanying slide. A dualistic education unhinges its exited student youth, who, once empowered to do something about their frustration, turn to do harm and evil to self and others. But let me give my argument a human face, a piece out of my personal narrative. Before, in more romantic times, the credence was, at least that was my perception growing up, that it was just a matter of time till we as humanity, through science, got our act together, perfected the blueprints, and the house will be top tier with love, peace, and well-being for all, forever, and for all nations on the face of the earth. It all got started back in Mexico City while I was making infant incubators that I received a calling to serve humanity by making incubators, yes, but for the human spirit. Then, once getting the principle right, next thing was how to disseminate the message of PaRaDiSe, and finally, with a collective target in mind of realizing re-civilization. That is the backdrop, quite a challenge. Finally retired from teaching, I can now fully address the charge. But how to go about step 2 PaRaDiSe to finally gather global consensus around step 3, re-civilization? That is the question. This is where the Senate job comes into the picture as a means to an end. The problem with this venue is that I don't have name recognition in the political field, but allegedly yes in the intellectual. And being the fact that politics is mostly occurrences over ideas, an idea-strong candidate is what's needed in politics to enlighten the playing field. Since I am not well known, I had to make up for this deficiency somehow. I haven't been a public figure, mostly teaching and writing. Teaching in seclusion and writing in obscurity since my coming over to the States in 2002 for my second sailing. But I am an established author, yet unread, at Amazon's self-publishing platform. I can identify 3 distinctive phases of my thought, namely Socratic, Pythagorean, and Mosaic of late. Please see accompanying slide. An interesting point to notice. Of this triad of masters of humanity, none left personal writings of their own. Socrates was written by Plato in his dialogues, Pythagoras by the fragments of some of his followers, and Moses supposedly only took dictation at Mount Sinai, neither adding nor subtracting from the text of the creation story in the Torah. So, in turn, another means to an end, thus the Nobel Peace Prize bid in order to gain some name recognition, but associated with the idea and not so much with my name. The critical route to Senate job is by way of the NPP bid, or like the H-bomb analogy wherein you need a whole cascade of detonators building up to the Big Bang. The hope with the NPP is that of a self-fulfilling prophecy regarding the target of bringing on change with capital C by way of the PaRaDiSe principle of re-civilization. Now that we found the cure, the antidote against dualism, let's now derive PaRaDiSe by way of proof. The Q is the zero, the hinge pin, the meeting ground of the positive and the negative, what packages them into language to express the ineffable whole of all. What's the driving force in nature? Survival. In humans too, but something else. We need first to recover our sanity. The world of paradise instead of today's inferno on earth. Allow me to give a sketch of a head start on PaRaDiSe. Please see accompanying slide. But before ending, an exhortation. Let's start here and now, all of us, the PaRaDiSe re-civilization. Because due to homeostasis, nothing less than everything will change a single thing. Nothing changes unless everything does in unison. Short of this is just the usual mirage of constant change of dualism playing tricks on our minds. For the greatest benefit to humanity, the PaRaDiSe re-civilization principle. I have the calling to serve, the message of PaRaDiSe to disseminate, and the mission of re-civilization in America to realize. Entra la bola, no seas canica, let's roll, don't marvel. U.S. Senate Texas seat 2020 and the Nobel Peace Prize as soon as possible. In a nutshell, going forward, it's either PaRaDiSe, promised land, promised world, or else hell on earth. Yours truly, Rick, and GD bless.